Hello and welcome again to the Glass Prism Podcast, a show about the wisdom in viewing important stories with a unique perspective. We are still working on our motto here, as you can tell. If you have any suggestions, we will happily accept them. Thank you. I want you to think back to the time you were having a warm and soothing shower, lathering up your loofah and humming to your favorite tune while thinking about life. As you think about everything to do with work, life, friends, weather, and a series of unrelated off topics, your brain surprises you with an epiphany, making you believe, if not for just a moment, that maybe, just maybe, you got some wisdom in you. As everyone knows, your best ideas and rebuttals come to you in private. Thoughts, when they enter your minds, have you punching the air for not thinking about them earlier. Usually, this state of enlightenment is momentary, and you most likely haven't documented all the times you had epiphanies or great ideas, or let's be serious, comebacks in a heated argument you had an hour ago. Well, I, on the other hand, made a habit of documenting mine over the last few years. And not only in the shower, but actively documenting it in the Notes app on my phone. Today, Talha, Simon, and I have a little fun as I share with you my personal 23 tips or statements of wisdom, if you may, that I've written and deliberated over the 2022 year. Usually, I keep these insights to myself, but this time around, I'll share that experience with you. These quotes tend to be relatable, things that would surely apply to many people no matter your circumstances. So I hope you enjoyed today's first episode of a two-part series where we cover the first 11 of 23 quotes and discuss them. As always, this is the Glass Prism Podcast. Enjoy. All right.
Okay.
I got the first one. Okay, this one I'm going to give you a little bit of context. All right.
No, hit us hard. What are you doing?
Bro, I'm going to
destroy us.
Trust me. It's going to... What? It's going to get there.
Okay, gotcha.
All right.
Sorry, I'm not really into that.
Easing into it.
All right, here's the first. Prioritize being good over being great. So let me give you the context behind this, and you can tell me like your first impressions about this statement. So this statement isn't about settling. It's about setting your priorities right. Make sure you're a good man. There's no point getting to be a man who achieved great things if your family cannot stand you, or if your son and daughter do not admire their father for the man he is. This is why, to everyone who truly matters, being a good man is better than being a great one. What do you guys think?
Interesting. When I first heard it, I thought, isn't greatness better than goodness, is what I thought.
But good might not always be the best for everyone, right?
So when we say great, what we really mean is like someone who achieved something amazing or whatever.
Okay.
Like people might associate greatness with people like Einstein, or people possibly in the future, Elon Musk, if he's like taking us to Mars and stuff like that. But I'm talking about the fact that you should always prioritize being a good person, right?
So would you classify someone who's good like maybe Martin Luther King Jr.? Would that be somebody who's a good person, or is somebody who's a great person?
He's pretty great too, eh?
Yeah.
But he's
like,
sometimes...
is he good to the people who matter? That's the question.
Oh, I see.
Because like,
so to his family,
this is
ones.
what I was trying to say in this quote. It was just to remind myself that like it's always better to be a good person over trying to achieve something great, right? So prioritize being good over being great.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah, but like
but you should still strive for greatness, right? But just
prefer priorities.
Priorities. Okay.
Yeah, priorities.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
You like it?
I'm down with that.
All right,
it's pretty good, but it's not
pretty
great.
good. You start off pretty light. I feel like,
see that.
it took me like a whole 2 seconds to replay what he said in my mind.
Look at how quirky he is. All right, second one.
Okay.
You are only as important as the things you seek. Choose wisely.
So if I am seeking for richness, to be prosperous, wealth,
then I'm as good as gold.
Ooh.
Is that are you saying that's my value?
No. I'm trying to say like what they chase says everything you need to know about a person. Okay.
Oh, like what you choose to pursue.
Exactly. So
Yes.
are they chasing, I don't know, pleasures, girls, drugs, the highs of life, things
Right.
like that? Or are
Andrew
they
Tate.
chasing a good career, spirituality, knowledge, good morals? It determines who they are as a person. And once they achieve it, that's the only quantifiable measure of their worth. Right?
Right, because they've selected it as their own.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that they've achieved. So aim high and choose wisely. You'll be defined by what you achieve or what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that. But the thing is, it's like, what if you chase something not for the sake of yourself, but for the sake of others? For example, if you look at somebody, you want to judge them like, oh, this guy is chasing after money. He's connecting with people he probably shouldn't. Maybe he's like connecting with the bad crowd, right? Maybe people think or perceive him to be somebody who is of bad nature. Whereas maybe this is his or that person's only method of trying to feed or provide for his family. Who knows? Is that a possibility? And that could be something that is good natured.
That's still important, right?
Right.
Like you're not necessarily okay. So it kind of depends on your perception of what those actions are. So if they are in line with you providing for your family, I don't see how that's a terrible thing.
Yeah, I
You know
get
what I
that.
Mhm. But the money is still the identifiable
Yeah, that's what
level,
I'm
though.
thinking.
No,
yeah,
no. It's what is money a resource for, right? So if you have enough and all you do is basically spend money, but you neglect all your other responsibilities, then that defines you because now you've chosen to prioritize money over everything else. But obviously, it's not the fact that, hey, if somebody really works hard and tries to obtain a certain amount of money just for the sake of providing for their family, then it's providing for their family that defines them. It's not the chasing of the money.
It's
Okay.
like Robin Hood versus a common crook.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Repeat the quote again, just really quickly.
Okay, so here's the quote. You are only as important as the things you seek.
And as if, for example, if we put into that example, the things I seek is to provide for my family.
It's then money is a means to an end. So
Means
like
to-
whatever it is that you're seeking is to provide for your family. It's not the money.
I see.
It's the
Right.
purpose, not
Yeah.
the...
Okay.
It's the end goal. Like what is it?
Okay, so your end goal defines you.
Exactly.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that one I would agree with.
I would agree if you put it like that. The end goal
Yeah.
defines you. But I like the quote version as well. It keeps you thinking.
Yeah. I got a funny one here. I think you guys will like this one. Just because you spilt milk on the counter doesn't mean you should empty the box onto the kitchen floor. This isn't about milk.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I hate these jokes. I hate these jokes.
What do you think it's about?
If something bad happens to you, you don't just throw away the ambition that you've poured in, no pun intended, that you've poured into this endeavor, right?
No, you intended that pun. Just be honest.
Simon is a pun lord. Bro.
I will neither confirm nor deny that.
Yeah, but like I think they're along the lines. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's very much like what I intended with this quote. What do you think?
This is not about milk? I'm still trying to think what it's about.
Okay, just because you spilt milk on the counter doesn't mean you should empty the box onto the kitchen floor.
Well, just because you, I don't know, took a loss, right? Doesn't mean you should just throw everything down. I
Yeah,
guess?
very much.
Really?
Like the
Hey.
milk is basically a metaphor for
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It can be applied anywhere, basically.
yeah. So when you make a mistake, don't think you lost it. It's never as big a deal as you think it
always
is.
recover.
Wipe it off. Try again.
Okay.
And most of all, don't drown in your own sorrow and
Just 'cause-
self-sabotage all your efforts.
Yeah, just because you got rejected from a job offer, don't give up. That sort of thing.
Keep
Just
at it.
because
Yeah.
you got rejected by a girl doesn't mean that you won't find love. That sort of thing, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. For the purposes of marriage, of course.
Exactly, for the purposes of marriage.
All right. So, fourth one. A kind smile can thaw a cold heart that the heat of an argument could not.
Can thaw a cold heart. So somebody who's very
Not receptive to emotion.
Exactly.
yes, or somebody who's very cold. Well, cold, but I mean, who just doesn't, is not welcome to other people's
Yeah.
opinions or something like that, or a stubbornness essentially.
Exactly.
Is the best way to get to them is not through aggression or argumenting or fighting or calling them names. I guess
Yep.
is more so being kind with them. I don't know. Not always. I feel because I feel like some stubborn people are just too stubborn. Some cold people are just too cold to the point where they won't. Like they're just permanently. They have no way to sort of change their ways,
Okay, let me ask you
regardless
this.
of what approach you take.
Do you think those people that are characteristically stubborn, do you think they are met with kindness very often?
I wouldn't imagine so, no.
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 They're most likely very argumentative.
Yeah, and people would tend to avoid them then because you tend to want to, there's a certain limit you have when it comes to talking to these people. You try to persuade them, whether that's through kindness or anger, but at some point you just leave them be, because there's no point in getting
and causing more like
yeah
aggression, sadness, stress from them.
And this is exactly why, like, this is inspired from something that I've gone through myself, which is basically I've dealt with a couple people who would be perceived as cold, would be perceived as hyper rational people, not very much emotional. And funny part is when people perceive them as such, they feel like they should be hyper rational with them as well, hyper logical. Those type of people are very argumentative, they're very stubborn, and like in their ways. So once they decide on something, they just go with it. The fascinating part is people who've actually got through to them are usually people who've met them with kindness, or met them with the emotional antagonist to their personality. And that's the only way that they've actually gone through. So it's
what if the person who is stubborn and really cold, right, is only cold and stubborn because they feel nobody understands them? What if you approach them with kindness, right? And in terms of kindness, I assume you mean sort of getting to their level and essentially trying to see things to their perspective,
like an
being
empathy
empathetic,
sort of,
right?
yeah.
Is that what you're trying to get at with being kind with them?
I mean, that's one outlet or one form of kindness. I mean, people are very dry to people who are stubborn and
that's the thing.
Or lack emotion, stoic, whatever you want to call it. But that's exactly why it's so much. It's like so much of an outlier when somebody comes in and treats them a little bit nicely, right? And so I feel like they're a little bit more receptive to that, because regardless of whether they're hyperlogical or not, they're still human, right? And humans, especially
the classic tale of turning a villain into a superhero type of thing.
Yeah,
when he meets a pretty lady or something. I don't know.
What I have written here is basically sometimes people forget that the remedy to a hurt person's pain are acts of kindness, and smiles are powerful. They can undo and or convince even the stubbornest of hearts to do things they wouldn't do by force. This is particularly important when dealing with loved ones.
I kind of still don't agree, because here's the thing. What if, like, say you're going through some sort of emotional distress, right? Your depression, whatever you call it. Maybe you've broken up with someone, or maybe it's through family matters, right? Maybe you feel that nobody in your family understands you. People who are the most closest to you don't get how you're feeling, and that sort of closes a lot of the times. That's kind of what happens where you feel like nobody understands you, and you tend to close yourself off from everybody else, even your close friends, right? And the problem is when people sometimes, instead of arguing with you, right, you just try to be nice with you and try to understand, but they still don't get you, and that sort of, you try to push them away even more. Regardless of their kindness, you still feel like, oh, they're just trying to be kind just to get to me and tell me that I'm wrong, when they just don't understand my...
Yeah, I have witnessed that too, and I can agree that I have seen Talha's like this situation unfold, and it's completely a lack of understanding. Like, you can be as nice as you want to someone, but when you don't understand what they're going through, you will not breach that shell.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think the most authentic forms of kindness,
I think it's better. I think it's better than obviously arguing and getting angry and being
don't
aggressive.
antagonize them, right? But
I think so as well. There's a higher chance of breaching that shell, essentially, when you're being kind and you're showing friendliness and you're smiling, right? And I think it has to do with just how human behavior is with each other. Yeah,
but you talked about kindness as if it was an ulterior motive that is masking an agenda to basically change the way that person is.
I think kindness is the foot, like, in the door, but then after that you have to carry the rest of your trip, like, into this guy's or this girl's heart, like, with some degree of logic. You can't just be like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
No, but now I actually see what Firas is saying, is because say you're having a really bad day, right? Okay. And you don't want to talk to anybody. You just got into an argument with, I don't know, your friend or your family or something like that. You don't want to talk to anyone. Your day is just like, okay, you go into the morning thinking, I'm just gonna go to class. I'm just gonna do my work. I'm not gonna talk to anybody. I want to just get this day over with, right? You go to get your coffee or something, right? You're met with a really kind cashier, or they smile at you and say, good morning, how are you? What can I get you? It's sort of beating at you. Like, you're trying to maintain that anger that you have from earlier, but that kindness is sort of beating against it. It's just like, you can't get angry at them, right? You could be, but they're just smiling back at you, and it just sort of counters your by natural.
It's
just kinda
authentic. They have
yeah.
nothing to
A brick
gain.
wall.
You have nothing to gain from the
Yeah,
anger.
they have
yeah.
nothing to nothing to gain from the anger.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like that person's being kind to you, even though they have nothing to gain from being kind to you.
Yeah.
Not only that, but nothing forced them.
And they know nothing about you either. It's not about understanding you.
Yeah.
It's just that it's just
This is
genuine.
what I mean by authentic kindness.
I see. Yeah.
Right.
Now I get it.
Yeah, if it's in its rawest form, I do see
Yeah.
the appeal of that. Yeah.
All right, fifth one. Enjoy life with the eyes of a child, but fear life as if you were born yesterday.
Interesting. I thought he could have just ended the quote off just at the start. Enjoy life.
Every time you have a little comma or semicolon there, I'm like, oh no, there's layers.
There's layers to it. I would have definitely 100%. I was down. I was in agreement when you said the first part. It just seems right. Repeat that last bit again.
But fear life as if you were born yesterday.
Interesting.
When you say that, and this is my question to you, do you mean because you have not witnessed anything, you should be on your guard? Or because you have not witnessed anything, you should just stroll?
Because the antagonist to the first part of this quote, which is enjoy life with the eyes of a child, a lot of people believe it's because of the fact that the child is naive to the dangers of the world.
Oh yeah, when you're a kid, you don't think about taxes. You don't think about lawsuits.
Put your hand on the oven, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah. To them, it feels like
The biggest dangers are your parents. They're getting angry at you. Yeah, getting grounded. No more video games. That's your biggest fear.
yeah, but it's in a sense people believe just because of the fact that you've seen, for example, some of the worst things that can happen in the world. Suddenly, your perception of the entire world changes. And that's a must, or else you would be naive to live as a child your entire life. I've come to the realization that you can still appreciate the beauties in the world without necessarily being naive. Because even though there is a little bit of ugliness in some cases, it doesn't make everything ugly, right? You don't stain the entire painting just because of the fact that there's one imperfection on the right side, right corner of the painting. That's fine.
What if the whole painting, majority of the painting is ugly? Like say 80% of the world.
And that's the argument that a lot of people might have.
Right.
But in reality, think about it like this. This is a different quote I've been told about, and I think this is actually very important.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that the capacity for good is only relative to the amount of things that can be corrected. Okay? So if there aren't any opportunities for you to do good,
Then why stress over it?
no, then how could you be a good person?
You have no way to actually contribute.
Yeah. You have no way to actually contribute.
And thus, why cry about it, or about why?
No, it's because we as humans have the capacity to actually change almost every single ailment that
Right.
we're facing,
Uh-huh.
right? It's really just a choice, okay? And when it comes down to it, there are a lot of things that even inexplicably are incredibly just beautiful, nice things, right? Like there are things that are natural that might scare a few people, like maybe, I don't know, a lioness hunting a gazelle. Okay.
Okay.
Right. They would think like, oh no, the gazelle is.
Yeah, they feel for that.
Yeah.
The prey. Yeah.
Yeah. But it also comes down to the fact that that gazelle might bring some sustenance to the little cubs. And then when you see the cubs feeding, you're like, oh.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's relative to that. But at the same time, as humans, this is what differentiates us from other animals, is that we have the capacity to override our nature to make sure that we actually contribute to the world in a much more positive light, way past the capacity of almost any other species of animal in this world. But going back to the original quote about enjoy life with the eyes of a child, I think, especially at our age, and more so as we get older, the fact is it switches again when you get really old.
Yeah.
You start to see things a little bit lightly again, and you start to see things with rose tinted glasses again, and you see the beauty of life, but we tend to forget it.
Well, I think that's kind of an exposure thing, though, because in that sort of stage of adulthood, you are now surrounding yourself with a lot of that negativity. Back to that painting, if you look at that one little drop or whatever on it, when you're an adult, there's a lot more drops that are more visible because you see them every day. Whereas when you're older, when you're young, it's just one little drop. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but have you ever, for example, been somewhere and you didn't realize how beautiful of a scene it is until you took a step back, you stopped, and you're like, actually, wow, the sky is amazing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That happens all the time. Could you imagine the amount of things that you've missed that you couldn't observe just because of that?
It's like saying life is a race, but take some time to
Step
look
back.
around.
Yeah.
Look at your surroundings, type of thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that one.
Kind
Yeah.
of.
That's good.
When you mentioned like what was the first part of it, basically live life, look at life in the eyes as
Enjoy life with the eyes of a child.
of
Yeah.
a child, right? That just makes me think. I know this might be off topic, but it just makes me think about how it depends on where you are and how you grow up as a child, right? Like for example, there's children out there who are exposed to the ugliness and realities of the world at a very, very young age,
from
to the point
get-go.
exactly like kids who are growing up in war-torn countries, they are innocent, and their perception of the world, like that enjoyment that they have, right, is very minimal until they're exposed to the realities of evil.
That's actually I would argue against that.
Really,
Have you, bro? The sparkle in their eyes when they smile, regardless of the situation, they don't know any reality that's different. By the way,
I get that.
They still have the capacity to smile. They still play around. They still
It is-
wake up
yeah.
every
We're all
morning
human.
thinking to themselves,
That is true,
I want
because
to
they
have
don't
my
see that
toy and so
ugliness
on.
as they're exposed to the ugliness, but they don't retain that ugliness is the thing, right? And that's the thing with a lot of people when we grow up, right, is that we tend to see the ugliness, we acknowledge it's there, and then we just embed it into us.
Yeah.
We just know the world is ugly and blah blah blah. We live.
It's
that
a
sort of
muscle
life.
you just have to practice, right? These kids don't have that, but they still have the muscle. They never lose it.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but from an Evo Psych perspective, people believe that just because when you get older, you start being the protector versus the protected, which is the children, right? And this is why it's better to have a bias towards the negativity, because now you overemphasize the dangers in the world, and then you take a little bit of a safer approach to things. And
You don't want to be hurt.
yeah, that increases your chances of survival, honestly. But Evo Psych is one of the most controversial areas of science right now. But
Really, why so?
bro, there's so much to talk about. But
Okay.
it's one of the most fascinating things ever, genuinely, because it has some societal complications regarding why we do certain things and the freedom of behavior. Because Evo Psych, according to Evo Psych, you can actually very much explain a lot of people's behaviors, even the ones where you can predict people's success and wealth, right, to a very high degree of accuracy compared to all forms of other sciences, which is interesting because even before you're born, I can already tell you you're 40-50% more likely to be within the top 1%.
Wow.
Is it just because of genes or no?
Genes, societal factors, and this is what Evo Psych gets into.
Gotcha.
All in one nature and nurture thing?
Yeah, because it takes the evolutionary basis of evolutionary biology, and then it applies it to psychological phenomena.
It still sounds fascinating, even if you say it is controversial.
Yeah, it's controversial because of the implications of it, right?
Because people don't want to be guessed, or is it
things for example, let's say that there's a bias for men to want multiple sexual partners.
Okay.
There are people who make the point that society teaches men to want to do this, right? If you were to make the argument that there is actually a genetic basis for this, right, and this is what differentiates men and women in many different other behaviors. Now you start to understand. This is where the controversy comes in, because some people don't like to be defined in that manner, and they'll according to evolutionary psychology, for example, being gay is a fetish. Okay.
Oh no.
Right.
I see where the controversy is.
So you can get into a lot of things, but it just applies the scientific background of evolution towards almost everything.
Predicting.
Yeah, but then the contrast to that is everything that we learn is what defines us as people. Which is not necessarily the case, by the way. There's so much more science towards the idea that.
Well, now we know what our next episode. Next episode.
I'd love to hear you talk about this on the next
upcoming episodes.
I'm in a rabbit hole for Evo Psych right now. I'm reading 2 books about it.
Can we get an Evo Psych episode?
We could.
I'd be interested.
I mean, like, listen, if we get heat for it, it's not my fault. Listen, I'm just
all PR is good PR.
like, I'm not
Exactly.
I'm not giving anybody's like my opinions. I'm just saying like this is what we've come to understand regarding.
This is what is being said.
Yeah,
These are the facts.
exactly.
All right, for us, hit us with the hard ones now. You said these ones are soft.
Okay, so this one specifically, right? My friend doesn't like it.
Oh,
Okay, but I think it's actually really good.
all right.
Shortcuts are just like gold, valuable and scarce, but easy to counterfeit.
How would you counterfeit a shortcut?
Because you copy the steps of a successful person who took a shortcut.
No, like keep discussing it because I have a very specific way of interpreting this, and I'm interested in your
Shortcuts are
interpretations.
like gold, scarce,
Valuable and scarce,
Yeah.
but easy to counterfeit.
but easier to counterfeit.
Counterfeit, like
Copy.
that's why
Make fake versions of.
yeah.
Make fake versions of shortcuts. Yeah, I would think it's what Simon said. Is that you essentially Oh, is it because you
maybe-
don't learn from anything from them? There's no value from doing it. Because usually when you take a shortcut, it's because you found something, right, that is of value to yourself.
You
or
understand
something.
the value of the journey. You take the shortcut, you still do, but
Is it the journey thing?
do you? I don't know.
It's kind of related to that, but the idea is this: seldom does the shortcut give you the same amount of value as a long route. Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes just getting whatever it is that you were trying to attain does not necessarily mean that you took the value from, like when somebody says the journey, what they mean is like all the experiences and learning that you did throughout the time that you were trying to get to that goal. Okay?
Right. It's the value isn't getting there. It's
Which you
how you
learned.
got there.
Yeah,
basically.
like that's
What you absorb.
kind of that's like
A relatable quote, similar sense,
But-
I guess.
It's not exactly what you were trying to
because
posit.
this is a different postulation
see.
altogether. So what I was trying to say is shortcuts are just like gold, valuable and scarce because true shortcuts avoid you having to lose any value. They just save you time. They're just more efficient. Okay, and they're easy to counterfeit in a sense that a lot of people will offer you a lot of shortcuts to life that do not actually
They're
offer
not
you any
true.
value. They're
Right.
not true,
Yeah.
right?
They don't take you anywhere. You still have to go back.
Exactly.
and- yeah.
Like if there are a lot of people, for
Like
example,
get-rich-quick
online,
schemes and stuff.
get rich quick schemes are the perfect example of it.
So many of these in the
Right.
last 2 years.
They're
as
like,
well.
I want to make a lot of money. It's like, okay, how do you do it? It's like YouTube automation, drop shipping,
Yeah.
like
Subscribe to their freaking classes, courses.
University,
affiliate
yeah.
marketing,
Hustlers
Yeah.
University.
Hustlers University.
perfect examples. Yeah, and this is what I'm trying to say. Like, these are not shortcuts to anything. By the way, most of them are too risky for you to make money.
Yeah, these
Right.
are counterfeits.
Yeah,
Counterfeit shortcuts.
but in a lot of cases, the people who have learned how to make money can always recycle the things that they've learned to do that again.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a much more valuable trait than actually like acquiring. Let's say you're well off enough, okay, to pay for your rent and food. Okay,
Right.
Yeah.
At that point, let's say, which one would you choose? The opportunity to learn about something that will continuously make you money, or is it the way that like, okay, I can just slap onto you like $50,000 today? And,
So it's more like the perception of, the idea of mining for gold, right? When someone creates a shortcut, right? For example, maybe it's a skill to learn in life, or I don't know. They sort of the first person who does it mines that gold, and it's rare, it's valuable, and then obviously that gold can be traded in like this economy of like, okay, shortcuts, it's gonna be passed down or whatever. But it's the fake gold what you mean by counterfeit is the fake ways to get ahead in life. It's
Fake and it
it's
doesn't
the
work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that don't
'cause it
work.
doesn't
right?
work.
Right.
Yeah.
The money that gets caught in the system, and you get caught in that sort of system, and it leads you nowhere. Essentially.
Yeah, I think like one of the best ways to ensure success in life is actually to learn from people's previous experiences. For example, let's talk about the idea of like mining for gold. If you knew how to mine it properly, right? Through the experiences of someone else,
you could build.
You don't have to go through the process of, okay, this is the best technique, because now you know the best technique.
Yeah,
Now you can do it on your own. That's a true.
And you could
shortcut.
probably even go further with it as well, because
you
you build
evolve
on
it.
top of it. You
Exactly.
evolve it. You evolve the ways of
Like,
life.
why repeat this same
Yeah.
exact situation over and over again?
Exactly.
This is why
So-
they're valuable, they're scarce, but they're incredibly easy to counterfeit.
Right. Because there's a lot of people coming at you with like, okay, this is the next best thing when
Yeah.
it's really not. But why does your friend disagree with you? I'm confused. I'm
They
curious.
just thought it was just not profound, or like, oh, okay, like nothing new there.
So it's
yeah.
not much of a.
No, but again, he really thought that, like, I didn't give him any context to this. He was like, you're just trying to say like, take the long route, enjoy the journey.
Whatever. The initial perspective.
Yeah, we kind of also thought that at the beginning,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Many of these quotes are basically written by me for me. So
you understand the context, right?
I do understand the context, but
yeah, it's very hard to listen to for us. So whenever he says something like this, I just tune out immediately. So I
tell you'll do the next 11 tips.
No. Go ahead. My 11 tips are: go home, relax, live life,
live, laugh, and love.
Live, laugh, and love. That's my one quote.
The next one is actually pretty simple.
Okay,
and I think you guys will enjoy this.
Hit us with it.
Give yourself a reason to bet on yourself. If you have nothing, go make reasons.
I love that one. I actually really like that one. I agree with it. It's like a go-getter type of thing. When it comes to when you're growing up and like you realize you sometimes lose friends that you've had before or whatnot, and you feel kind of lost and alone. Just remember this: like if you feel like nobody understands you, don't worry, because you are your own best friend. You are the best friend. You're the one who's gonna motivate yourself. Don't wait on somebody else to bet on you. Right? You are betting on you. And if you're betting on yourself, you sure as hell want to make sure you're getting that payout back and you want to win big. And so I definitely agree with that.
Well, no one understands yourself better than yourself. Your goals, like nobody could ever predict. I'm sorry to Evo psychology, but I think you know yourself a little better than you know.
Yeah, but actually my interpretation of that was a little bit different.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. Because when I say give yourself a reason to bet on yourself, it isn't about being your best friend, or it's basically prove things to yourself. Show yourself that you are capable. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you have nothing to show, go make reasons. A lot of people either are incredibly overconfident with their abilities, or they sell themselves a little bit too short. Okay? And you really just want to have an objective sense of where do you lie? Like how valuable you are to your family, to your friends, and how capable are you of achieving the goals that you've got, right? If you have nothing to make for that, the opportunity for you to actually build that, it's like a lot of people just believe that their abilities are absolute. They have no capacity of learning. That's what they believe. That's what it means to basically be like, I am who I am. And that makes no sense to me.
You're always changing.
Yeah. But those decisions to change are basically yours.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Like, go make reasons why you would bet on yourself. If you're not the smartest person in the room, go educate yourself.
Give yourself a trump card. Like, for example, if you're in a chicken fight, right? You're just not an average Joe, right? Nobody's going to bet on an average Joe. Nobody's going to bet on somebody. Okay, you could be somebody who's on the right path. You got everything going for you, right? But not everyone wants to bet on that. Sometimes some people want like the guy with the wild card.
Yeah.
Right? And so
makes sense.
Give yourself a reason. Give yourself that wild card. What makes you special? And give
everyone
yourself
has the ability to acquire it. That's the thing. A lot of people do. There are so many ways of achieving one thing, and that's the beauty of it. Like it's even if you're not the fastest player in a soccer game, you might be the best dribbler. You might be like really good at passing or so on and so forth, and you like develop your certain I know
figure out your value, figure out what you're
good at.
Exactly.
Self-understanding.
Yeah. And if you're not good at a lot of things, train.
Yeah.
All right. 8th, wisdom doesn't come with age. It comes with experience. So go be wise.
I got everything up to the comma.
There's always a comma in your thing.
Wisdom doesn't come with age. It comes with experience. So go be wise.
So get out there, get experience.
Exactly.
Build yourself.
Exactly.
Don't just wait for the years to come by, to roll by, and you haven't experienced anything. You haven't gained any wisdom that way.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who are wise at the age of 27, 28, much wiser than the people who've lived so many more years than them. Right. That's because of the fact that they've experienced so much more.
They lived in a vacuum, whereas the other people, like, world is their oyster.
A lot of people live in vacuums today, man.
What do you mean vacuum? You mean the Matrix?
Oh,
bro, I can't believe you made that joke.
I had to.
We're not getting paid by the Wachowskis.
I like that quote definitely because I think it's just a solid quote that that's been passed around quite a bit. I mean, you added your twist to it, but it's a lot like with age comes wisdom or whatever. But when you think of respect your elders, because you respect them, because they're wise, it's because of the length of experience they have, right? They've lived longer, so that's something you call experience. But it's how wide your experiences are can also define how wise you are as well.
How did they
right?
use that time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but right now we have a privilege that people back then didn't have, which is the idea that we get to choose how we spend our time.
Yeah.
Right. People back then, one of the main reasons why you used to respect your elders is whatever they did, like they weren't sitting down on their asses watching TV all day. Okay. They really went out and had those experiences.
Yeah, they worked
And
at it.
Yeah.
So it was basically just about the absolute number of years that you've lived.
Yeah. And now it's not the number of years. Now it's
It's about what you do.
what you do.
Yeah.
Because you have so much, so many opportunities, so many different options.
Right.
Right.
The avenues are
Still
much
respect
bigger.
your elders, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're not
Yeah.
saying we're showing the comparison. Whereas when being considered wise was limited just to how long you lived, right? But now it's not only just how long you live, but also how wide it is. Think of it as a tunnel, right? A very narrow tunnel, right? One car can go through. Basically, think of it as if you widen that tunnel.
Yeah.
The
The time is a resource, and they have a
it's
lot.
just
They used
resources.
a lot of it, but like, have they used it like wisely? You know.
So something like that. I guess if you wanted to think, create a mental picture for yourself.
Definitely. Number 9 is short, and I'm pretty sure our reactions to this is going to be just as short, unless somebody
Wow.
asks me a question that I'm thinking about.
I already hate it.
Really? You think so?
I
No.
like things that make me think for us.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want a short reaction. Anyways, give it to us.
Makes me
Corny
feel
as
dumb.
hell, though. Like, here's
All right,
Like,
let's-
I think it's important, but it's corny.
Will I laugh? Will I laugh?
Maybe.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. I don't know. Like, your humor is weird.
Okay.
All right. Don't sleep on sleep.
Fair. I agree.
Yeah.
okay.
No,
Yeah.
Let's move on. Enough said. Enough said. If anybody disputes this, yeah, I don't know about you.
Like, I mean, we're not here to dispute any.
I know,
quote.
I know, but like, if anybody has a problem with this, is gonna have to speak to first Firas, then me.
No, but like, here's the question to you: why is sleep important? Most people don't even know this. Why is sleep important?
I think it's a total recharge. Like I know people who sleep only like 4 to 5 hours, right? And they're just perfectly fine. But in my opinion, there's a certain point where you need a certain kind of sleep that just sinks you in your bed and you're just living it. Like you just sleep on a total like 10, 12 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's just that one time, and I feel like that's why sleep is something you should never like put to the side. Like at one point in time, I think you really need it because it's a battery recharge. I noticed that when I didn't sleep as often, or when I slept for like 4 hours and 24 hours or something like that, maybe I had exams or something, I tended to do worse, right? During that time, I was more so stressed. I didn't eat properly. My health was kind of bad. And I would actually fall asleep during tests. Like, I mean, that's kind of given, but it's not fall asleep in terms of like, oh, I'm sleepy. It's more so I'm exhausted. Like I can't perform anymore. That sort of sleepiness.
Yeah.
Like I can't write anymore to the point where like, okay, I'm bored. Like, what can I do now? And my ideas just don't flow. Whereas when I do get enough sleep, like today I got enough sleep and I feel more active, more woke. I can actually respond to Firas now. I can actually laugh at his jokes.
Sleep is required to understand this particular metaphor. I feel like sleep is a part of, at least for me, like a natural rhythm that if you break it, you will suffer. And like if ambition is the power source, the power supply, excuse me, then you require sleep to completely power that. Like you cannot function without digesting the day, like having that rest to sort of get your thoughts in order. Like I'm the kind of guy that I've written down as many dreams as I can because sometimes those allow me to get a feel for like what's going on in my head. Like that source of introspection
You
would
write
not be
down your
possible.
dreams?
Oh, I have notes, man.
Oh,
But-
dude, me too. I thought I was the only weird person. But the thing is, when I wake up and I try to write them down as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
And then you come back a week later and you're like, what did I just write? What? You do not remember a single thing.
You have 5 minutes to do that, and everything's
Yeah.
gone right. To get back to your point, I feel like it is necessary. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that sleep. Oh, I hate sleep. Oh, ew.
No, but conceptually, intuitively, you guys are right. By the way, the 4 to 5 hours of sleep people, it's not because of the fact that like they can function with 4 to 5 hours of sleep. It's because of the fact that they've basically normalized that habit, and they're most likely performing it at a lower cognitive level than
Their circadian rhythm is already adjusted to it.
exactly. So
basically.
when you talked about rhythm, and that's what actually one of the most important things is, you don't understand how important it is for you to wake up at around the same time every day. Like it is very
It really
important.
messes with your mental. For example, if you wake up like throughout the 5 days of the week, you're like waking up at what, like 6 a.m. and then suddenly on a weekend you're waking up like what, 11 a.m.?
It messes up your brain because your brain kind of requires that, because sleep is not just for you to rest.
Yeah.
Sleep is basically a state for your body to start introducing a lot of regulatory functions for you to get up the very next day and perform well. Okay? So what does this mean? It basically means that there's a bunch of waste products, by the way, in your brain that happen during the day, and the only time they're flushed out is when you're sleeping.
Yeah,
during
exactly.
deep sleep. Yeah. It also promotes like anti-cancer. I'm not going to get into like too much. I'm just going to call them anti-cancer processes in your body.
Okay.
So if you don't sleep regularly, you've increased your chances of like hundreds of types of cancers, right? Not only that, you've also ruined for yourself basically the capacity at which your brain can function the very next day, even if you slept more than 8 hours.
Oh, I felt that too.
So if you ruin your pattern, it ruins everything.
Yeah.
Like you need to make sure that you're always sleeping at the same time, waking up at the same time, and you don't make any excuses regarding that, because that's exactly what your body requires. Your memory improves, like your ability to speak improves,
Cognitive ability,
like all forms of things. Yeah.
So we're basically saying never sleep on sleep is not saying that sleep more. It's more so don't mess up your sleep. Don't mess up your system.
When you wake up, honestly, anybody who watches the Huberman Lab is tired of hearing this, but like sleep at the same time, wake up at around the same time, 7 to 9 hours, find out like what's specifically for you, what works for you.
Okay.
But also within the first 10 minutes of waking up, go outside and basically let your eyes get some sunlight for about 10 minutes. Okay. What that's going to do is that's going to regulate your levels of cortisol. Cortisol actually is pretty high at the very beginning of the day, and then it levels off, right? It also starts like different other functions in your body that gets you ready for the day. Okay. Like those type of patterns that people used to do like without thinking, because that's exactly what they like routinely. They would sleep at around the same time. Routinely they would wake up around the same time.
Yeah.
These are things that we've lost, and we're only now learning about why they used to do it. We're only now learning about, okay, you're most likely not doing well in that exam, even if you studied like so and so amount of hours.
Won't matter.
Even if you slept for 9 hours, just because of the fact that you slept at 1 a.m. instead of 10:30 as you usually regular. Do, now you kind of ruined your chances of basically performing at an optimal level. Yeah. So yeah,
makes sense.
Don't sleep on sleep, people. All right.
Don't sleep on
Making that my wallpaper, my desktop wallpaper.
We're going to have Glass Prism merch shirts that say don't sleep on sleep.
Oh man, you're making promises that we cannot deliver at the moment.
I never said I promise.
Friends are like a mirror maze, so do not deform yourself surrounded by the wrong ones.
Friends are what? Mirror maze?
Mirror maze. Have you ever
mirror
been to,
maze?
Yeah.
The ones where you think you're what do you call it? You don't know which way is the right way, and like
and then like they're like funny mirrors
make
with
you
like
squishy
make you
and,
squishy and like taller and stuff like that.
It's an old carnival thing.
Yeah, gotcha.
So basically, they're a reflection on you. That's the number one thing for the mirror maze idea, but it also deforms you depending on who you end up being with. Right.
So what mirrors are near you, basically?
Yeah, so friends are like a mirror maze. So do not deform yourself surrounded by the wrong ones.
Interesting that you put it that way. And use mirrors, because mirrors are like inanimate. They're just there, right? So you're basically saying, because you have to go through that maze, right? For example, what's the objective of going through a mirror maze?
To have fun.
I like
Talha.
how deep he's taking this.
I
haven't even taken it this deep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay,
continue.
so what's the purpose of like going through a mirror maze? Is it to have fun, or is it to get to an end goal?
I'm pretty sure it's to have fun. I mean,
to have fun, but
there probably is
the
an
maze.
end goal. But
there's the maze itself. Do you have to go
like
from
you're
start
trying
to finish?
Get out of the maze.
You're trying to get out of the maze, right?
Yeah,
right. To get
while
to
enjoying the maze.
So I see this as sort of life, but when you go through that maze, you're coming across people. Like, for example, maybe what you're trying to say is like, say you come up to a mirror right next to you that's shrinks you down and makes you look stubby or something, or deforms you essentially, right? And that's like a friend who's probably changing you for the worse, maybe. I don't know. However, you
maybe
perceive
belittling you
or something. Like, let's use that as an example. Yeah. But if it's a maze, right? Aren't you trying to, like, if it's the way you perceive it, if it's a maze, you're trying to get out of it. So you're not trying to be next to those people. So people come and go is probably the way you should think about it as well, right? It's like, you wouldn't necessarily keep those people with you.
I like that.
That was deeper than my interpretation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it's the way you see life. You see it as fun, right? You'd probably want to like you don't care where you are in this maze at the moment. You're just enjoying the fact that you look really silly, right, at the moment. So you don't mind that. But if you're trying to get out of it, right, you're not looking at that. You have a goal to achieve and you're trying to get through it. So the mirrors, I guess, you really want by your side are the ones that show you the way out rather than showing you a silly self, I guess.
Man took the metaphor and ran with it.
Yeah, I'm
Yes, sir.
I am astounded. That was not at all what I was thinking. I was just thinking
My
more so like,
my family recently was rewatching the Maze Runner series.
oh, so you've got first-hand experience with mazes?
I don't know. I just thought like, okay, it just became very like.
Well, I was just thinking like, because like I've had to sort of change various aspects of my personality when I meet people and start to hang out with them, and it's not really by choice. It's more so like, oh, this guy's like really quiet or he does certain things. I'm going to start doing those certain things and, whatever around him. And then, for me, my rock has always been my girlfriend because she's sort of witnessed my metamorphosis throughout these different friendships. And she's like, why are you like acting like this now? And I'm like, oh, shoot, I wasn't even aware of it. Like sometimes I feel like I deform myself a lot just to fit in with other people.
Did she talk about your Yu-Gi-Oh era with me and Mohad?
Oh, the Yu-Gi-Oh era started years before. She already knows I'm an addict, but anyway.
Yeah, but those are very interesting interpretations. Like that's.
Are you surprised with me? Are you like
his was the whole chasm? I'm just peering off the abyss.
Do you see me in a new light now?
Yeah, definitely. Like 100%. Like I didn't.
You can accept me as a friend. You just keep me by your side as a mirror.
No, but like here's when I said friends are like a mirror maze.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, people become whoever they surround themselves with. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just like mirrors, you see a reflection of yourself, right? So when I say do not deform yourself surrounded by the wrong ones, just like in a mirror maze, sometimes when you surround yourself with the wrong people, those people deform you. Okay. And you already mentioned that the impact of being in somebody's presence, even for a short period of time, is enough for you to change your behavior.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Over time, that's going to change you.
Well, yeah, because you start to inherit those.
Exactly.
They become a part of you.
Exactly. So, people, this is why I personally like become friends with people that you admire.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you always make sure that you adopt those good things about them. Right?
Yeah.
And you would be able to mirror that.
This is why I'm friends with Firas, because I admire him.
Aww.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, didn't
But
expect
interesting. I like this quote because there's many ways you could perceive it, right?
Yeah.
And the way I perceived it, I mean, I also perceived it the way you did just now. I understand that definitely.
Number 11. Everyone is amazed to see small dominoes gradually tip over larger dominoes, and yet seldom do people see the wisdom in it.
I see it is that people tend to just look at the successes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than the process behind the success, because the wisdom behind it is like the ideas that go into the successes, the failures, right? I think wisdom is also comprised of failures because that builds your experience, and experience transforms into wisdom.
That was my interpretation too. And I think of like, people
But
say...
I have a feeling he's going to say something.
Oh, I'm sure it's different, but I'm still rolling with it. Like people say Steve Jobs, like, oh, he succeeded. He got Apple off the ground. But like people don't think, oh, what about those days he spent in his garage making literally pennies? Like all the little failures, all the little trials, the prototypes, all that, like those are gradually increasing in size. Like if we're going to go with the domino analogy.
And it's not just the failures, it's the will to keep going on.
It's
the
perseverance.
Yeah. My interpretation was actually very similar to you guys.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Let's go, Simon. We're on point. It's not my idea of the maze, right? Not all over again. We're on point this time.
We climbed a little out of the chasm, the abyss.
No, but the way that I saw it was that often people, when they want to, for example, maybe start a YouTube channel, some kind of business, whatever it is, they kind of shy away from the fact that, they kind of have to do the small tasks before they get to the really big achievements, right?
Okay.
And so they don't really know that for them to get to the point where they can get 1 million, 5 million subscribers, right? The best and easiest way to do that is just to gradually get there. Okay.
I see.
And it starts by like little amounts of energy, just like doing the little things. And once you do those little things cascade and hits like even larger and larger objectives. And eventually you get to where you want to be.
So back then, when you were a little domino, when you had a little domino stage, you didn't really think a medium domino would be achievable where you were. But by building up little and little, you eventually got to that point of medium domino, right? Well, if that's, for example, YouTube, you're at 200,000 subscribers or something, right? 500,000 subscribers. And then you're knocking over bigger dominoes. Even that, it's like a perceptive thing. That bigger domino looks impossible to you, 10 million subscribers. And eventually you get there.
Yeah, your scope
bit by
grows.
bit. Your scope grows.
So you should never be overwhelmed by the fact that something might be too big a task to take on right now. Just believe in the process. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And any smaller domino can tip over a larger one eventually.
Yeah, take it step by step. And I like to relate this to something where if something seems a little too hard, right? You know what's nice about the way children think about tasks is adults, right? We tend to just see a bigger picture of things. Like we say, okay, so this is the task at hand. There's a lot of work to do, and that sometimes flusters us. As students as well, I feel like when someone is handed like a project and they see all these requirements, it flusters us. I'm like, oh my God, we have just this due date. But something that I heard, I don't know where it was, on a podcast or YouTube video, where a nice thing about kids is when they're given a task or a project, or they have something to do, they break it down into like 3 easy steps. They just simplify it, right? And that's the way I feel like if you start thinking of certain tasks that way, is where you break it down to very small pieces, right? Whether that's 1 or even 3 steps in a day or something like that, right? Very simple stuff, 1 step in a day. You're slowly but surely achieving that as we go on.
Yeah, stretch goals are supposed to be flexible, right?
Exactly.
Like you adjust them as you go.
Don't take everything on at once.
Yeah, not aiming for the big domino yet. That's like over the horizon. You got to meet what's in front of you first, right?
Yeah.
And by then, that big domino is just a small step for you.
It's only a medium domino in comparison to the rest, right?
Yeah. I think that's basically it for this episode.
Wow, Simon, now we can think more like Firas.
Yay!
Ain't this great? Okay, so the next episode, right?
What did you guys think about those 11?
I actually like that. It's funny that putting ourselves in the mindset of how you think, we're sort of getting a better understanding of you, but also figuring out ourselves in a way. This sort of discussion here is sort of opening our avenues to like, okay, because we sort of have our own perceptions of how we perceive things, right?
Well, we bring different things to the table.
Exactly. And it's so interesting to see that certain words or it's all about perception, like how certain people can perceive certain things about life in a totally different way. But at the same time can also be so similar as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't have enjoyed this if you guys just basically regurgitated exactly what's in my mind. I'll be like, yeah, that's exactly what I...
But the sleep...
Exactly.
Never sleep on sleep was
I agree.
Yes, that I agree.
Well, I'm more so just fascinated at the range of like deepness of each one. Like some of them are, it's like actionable, instantaneous, and some of them are like lifelong. Like, I gotta think about this maybe in 50 years. I'm like, oh, yeah, he did say sleep. No, I'm just kidding. But some of them are quite...
The commas really catch you off guard. The comma ones
the commas got me.
Are the really sketchy
it's
ones.
The catch.
It's like whenever I pause, it's like, oh my God.
Oh, no.
It's like the first half is like what you would write on a fortune cookie, and then the rest is like the
Yeah, I'm glad you... honestly, this turned out much better than I thought it would. Like, not that I had like low expectations for it, but... the conversations were fun to have. I hope the audience enjoyed it just as much as we did. All right, so this is the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Tune in not 2 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time for the second part of this episode if you enjoyed it. Let your friends and family know about our podcast because that really helps us out a lot. And
we're at those little dominoes, we're just getting there.
Help us reach the medium domino.
Help us reach the medium to make domino.
Help us get out of the mirror maze. Help us get more sleep.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right, everybody. See you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye.
See ya.